Good morning and Sairam to all the students. Welcome back in your social science class. Today in this class we are going to take one topic from our history NCERT book. So our today's topic is kingdoms, kings and an early republic. Student, just see those who are having the new edition of NCERT book. In those books, this is chapter number 5, Kingdoms, Kings and Early Republic. But in the old version of NCERT, this is chapter number 6, Kingdoms, Kings and Early Republic. So don't be confused with the chapter number, just go with the chapter name. I am repeating, don't be confused with the chapter number, just go with the chapter name. And today's chapter name is Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. Here we have chapter content line, how some men became rulers. Second, Varnas. Third, Janapadas. Fourth, Mahajanpadas. Fifth, taxes. Sixth, changes in agriculture. Seventh, a closer look, Magda, Vajji, and last, elsewhere, Greece and Athens. So everybody knows that according to the nature that king's son would be the another king, but sometime it also happened that some other people also become ruler by performing sacrifices. So these all are the content line of the chapter Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. But today in this session we are going to study first two topic, that is how some men became rulers and about Varnas. Varnas we had already covered in our previous chapter, so we'll do a recall, and the main topic of the today's session is how some men became rulers. So the chapter is started with the election day. Shankaram woke up to see his grandparents all ready to go and vote. They wanted to be the first to reach polling booth. Why? Shankaram wanted to know. Were they so excited? Somewhat impatiently, his grandfather explained, we can choose our own rulers today. So everybody knows about the voting rights of the citizen, as we had already covered this in our political science chapter, democratic or the key element of democratic government. So yes, from this question we can know that choosing leaders or ruler by walking in something that has become common during the last 50 years and so on. But when if we see or we talk about the history, that time this kind of voting right was not in the past. So that time how the men or how the some men became rulers. So some of the rajas we read about in chapter were probably chosen by the Janas. But around 3000 years ago, we find some changes taking place the ways in which rajas were chosen. Some men now became recognized as rajas by performing very big sacrifices. So yes, by performing the big sacrifices, some men can become rajas also. And if you see that Ashramegha, like we can say that that time it was a very important ritual. So we were talking about Ashmegha Yagya or horse sacrifice. was one such ritual that time which the people, or we can say which the Raja has to perform. A horse was let loose to wandered. What they are doing? A wandered freely, and it was guarded by the Raja's men. And everybody knows, and all you all know about the story of our God Shri Ram, and you know about the Ashmega Yagn also performed by him, and you know about the love kush also. The same way, if the horse wandered into the kingdoms of other Rajas and they stopped it, they had to fight with that Raja who was performing the sacrifice. If they allowed the horse to pass, it meant that the accepted that Raja who wanted to perform the sacrifice was stronger than them. So here, so it's all about the power. It's all about who is stronger than whom. So if the other territory region Rajas thought that they were more powerful, so they used to catch that horse, and if they thought that no, they were not powerful, they allowed the horse to pass. The Raja who organized the sacrifice was recognized as being very powerful, and all those who came brought gift for him. So after this session of sending the horse in the different territories, once it finished, the Raja who was organizing or who organized this sacrifice, this whole scenario, he recognized as very powerful. The other person who came to join his sacrifice brought gift for him. The Raja was a central figure in these rituals. Means central means that he was the one basically. He often had a special seat, a throne, or a tiger's skin. His charioteer, who was his companion in the battlefield and witnessed his exploits, chanted tales of his glory. So basically, in this ritual, everyone had to accept that now this particular Raja who has performed the sacrifice is very powerful, and in his glory his companion chant tales of his glory. Now the next topic is, now in this sacrifice all Raja's relatives, especially his wife and sons, had to perform a variety of minor rituals. Even the other Rajas were simply spectators who had to sit and watch the performance of the sacrifice only. Priests performed the ritual, including the sprinkling of sacred water on the king. Everybody knows the sprinkling of sacred water, holy water on the king. The ordinary people, the Vish or Vaishyas, also brought gifts. However, some people, such as Shudras, those who were regarded Shudra, not allowed in these kind of rituals, or we can say excluded from this ritual. So these kind of question can also come, that which who were excluded from these kind of rituals? Shudras, who brought gift for the king, ordinary people, and other kings who sprinkled the sacred water on the king? The priest. Now everybody knows that we have many books that were composed in North India, especially in the area drained by the Ganga and Yamuna. And these books are some related with rules and regulation and some important information. Now, in the topic of Varnas, we'll talk about the books, and afterwards we see how our society is divided, or we can say how our society was divided into different groups. So everybody knows that these books are often called later Vedic because they were composed after Rig Veda. In our last chapter, we came to know that Rig Vedas was composed around 3000 years ago, and these books includes Samved, Yajurved and Atharved. These were composed by priests and described how ritual were to be performed. They also contained rules about society. Now that we have different kind of groups in the society, like we have priest, warrior, farmers, herder, traders, craftsperson, laborers, fishing, forest people. So the priest divided people into 4 groups called Varnas. According to them, each one of us had a different set of function. Now we have one picture based on that group also. So I'll write that. So we see this kind of picture we have. This is called our divide, how the priest divide the different type of group. Top Brahmin, then you can say Kshatriya, then Vaishya, and last table Shudra. So this is kind of table, and those time the people of different group were divided according to this table, or we can say in this Varna. This table is also known as Varna. So the topmost Brahmin, then Kshatriya, then Vaishya, and last Shudra. The first Varna was of the Brahmins. Brahmins were expected to study and teach the Vedas, perform sacrifice and receive gifts. So who were expected to teach the Vedas? Yes, Brahmins. So because they were on the top of that table. Second were the rulers, or known as the Kshatriyas, or Rajas were the Kshatriyas that time. They were expected to fight battles and protect people. Third were the Vish or Vaishya, basically the business person. They were expected to be farmer, herders and traders. Everybody knows that Raja means Kshatriyas, and even the Vaishya can perform sacrifice. But Shudras, the last is Shudra. Shudra had to serve the other 3 groups. You can see in the picture that one is doing help to the other. So Shudra has to help the other. Women were not grouped with the Shudras. Both women and Shudra were not allowed to study the Vedas. These groups were divided on the basis of birth, but many people did not accept this system of Varnas laid down by the Brahmins, because they thought, even some kings thought, they were superior to the priest, means Brahmins. So today we had covered 2 important topics of our chapter Kingdom, Kings and an Early Republic, and that is how some men became rulers and about classification of varnas. And in this classification we came to know about the four groups and their duties in the society. So students, now your homework is to read this two topic from your book and underline the main points. Okay, so in our next session we'll do our next topic, Janpatas and Mahajanpas or Texas, and step by step we will finish our chapter Kingdom, Kings and an Early Republic. So study at home. Saira.